Hey everyone, it's Julie B here with another update from this week of book launch of Burned. I'm just super excited to be here again, and I'm going to do another live tomorrow to kind of round out the week. But yeah, today is Thursday, June 20th. Man, I think I posted some videos about how it just seemed like June 18th was never going to arrive, and that was the published day, and now it's come and gone. And I've just had such great experiences this week talking to people and just being really feeling very lucky and fortunate to have the network that I have. And tonight I'm actually having a book event at Park Road Books in Charlotte. If you're local and you can come to it, even if you can just stop in for a few minutes, we'll be there from 7 until about 8 this evening. I'd love to see you there. I'm going to do a book reading, talk about my book a little bit, and then sign some autographs. And but don't worry if you can't make it to that one. I'm going to have several others at some of the local Barnes and Noble stores here locally. And then maybe I'll bring this party on the road. I don't know. If you want me to come to your town, let me know. Maybe we'll make that happen. So that would be a lot of fun. All right. So here's the thing. Today I'm going to talk about how and why I got a traditional publishing book deal. I'm not going to go into the details between the differences between self-publishing and hybrid publishing and um, traditional publishing. If you're interested in that, there's this fantastic website out there called Publisher Weekly. And that is where this time, I guess 2 years ago, I was doing a ton of research and just learning everything I could about how publishers work, how the publishing industry works, and all of that. So if you have any questions, I would go there first. And then I'm happy to talk to you one to one if you want to talk more about it. Specifically, if you should publish a book, how you should get a book published. If you wanted to do traditional publishing, happy to give you my insights on that. If you, I will say, I think it's probably right for about 20% of the people who actually want to publish a book. And there's a lot behind there. There's a lot of strategic consulting and advising that goes into that number. So, anyways, but listen, if you haven't purchased my book yet, please do so. It's on Amazon. It's also available through any of your local bookstores if you prefer to go through your local bookstore. From Park Road Books to Powell's out in Portland, Oregon, and everywhere in between. You can find it online at your local bookstore as well. And some are carrying it in store. Powell's in Portland, Charlotte, Park Road Books here in Charlotte has it on the shelf if you want to go in and get it. So, of course, you can also order from Amazon. But if you haven't gotten it yet, please do so. This week is really important for sales, and it really helps me out. And it makes actually you're helping like 4 to 5 business owners when you purchase this book. Me, my publisher, my publicist, and yourself. And if you want to go to a local bookstore, that could be 5. You can have a 5-fecta. So just consider doing that. But anyways, today I'm going to talk about how I got a book deal, why I got the book deal, and it's a long story. Actually, it's not that long of a story. First and foremost, I wrote a really good book. I wrote a solid book. I mean, I'm going to call it a great book at this point. I've read a lot of books out there about burnout, and my book is unique. You know, other books will speak to people when they're in different parts of their life, but my book is very unique in that it is for business owners. Even though people have said this for other people too. So I think even if you aren't a business owner, you could read this. But I would say that if you are a business owner, or if you have a business owner in your life who is really important to you, um, or if you're the child of a business owner, or if you work for a small business owner, this book, my book, Burned, hold up, I'm so proud of this book. It will give you some insights into what, even if you aren't a business owner, it gives you some insights into what we deal with, and gives you some ideas about how you can support, and also ideas on how you can deal with your own burnout. Because here's the thing, the stats support, I mean, almost everybody is dealing with or has dealt with burnout. I've seen numbers. It's usually at least 50% of the people walking around, working people walking around today. I've seen numbers as high as 72%. So just keep that in mind. Burnout it's a systemic problem, and that's like the next thing. All right, it looks like I'm back. I'm sorry about that. My internet just blipped off there, and I'm not sure what happened, but we're gonna try to get back in here. So I'm gonna talk about yeah, how I landed the book deal. And if you were watching this on Instagram, I'm sorry, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get that back on, but hopefully you're on some of these other stations and channels. So basically, I finally asked my publisher after working with him for 2 years, you know, why me? Why did you pick me? And you know, one thing that he had mentioned is that when he first decided to work with me, we talked a lot about like how different the book was, how just it was there was nothing on the market like it, and there were some other books about burnout that had done fairly well in sales. And when I asked him though, he said to me that he thought that I would work really hard to make it a successful book launch and make it a successful book sale. The thing is that after this week, I'm going to continue working. Like I guess it sounds to me like what a lot of authors do is they might promote their book for like 3 to 4 weeks max, and then they and then they stop with that. And you know, when you're a new author, when you're a first time author, you've got to be able to show the publisher that you are willing to work hard, that you have some type of plan together, that you have some ideas of how the actual industry works. And so if you caught me a little bit earlier before I had my internet hiccup, you would have, you know, I talked about how like getting yourself educated on getting yourself just educated on how book publishing works and using tools like Publisher Weekly to do that. It's really important to be able to have those conversations. But yeah, I mean, he basically told me that the deciding factor for him, along with you know good marketing plan and all of that, and a good book, of course, was that he thought I would work hard. You know, he thought I would keep going. That you know, even I mean, all of these things. Basically, he thought I would be resilient in this and I wouldn't give up. And my wife will tell you I'm probably one of the most relentless people when it comes to a task you will ever meet. And especially if somebody throws down a challenge, I am going to work my butt off to meet or exceed that challenge. So that's really what happened. You know, they wouldn't have signed me if they didn't think if they didn't think Burned had the legs to stand the test of time. I think that's one thing, and they wouldn't have signed it if they thought that I was going to be a jerk or pretentious or you know have a whole bunch of unrealistic expectations, which is another thing you have to get educated about. When you do work with a traditional publisher, they have a very specific thing. They have very specific things they do, and as a first time author, I knew from the start that sales were going to be one to one sales, direct sales, you know, sales from Amazon, sales from my book event tonight, and that type of thing. That was going to be right on me. I mean, that was going to be on my shoulders. And I agreed to that. And I continue to agree to that. And I continue to live up to that. For example, you know, this week, I should have done this sooner, but, you know, time flies when you're having fun. But even just this week, I reached out to all of the local Barnes and Nobles. Well, not all, a handful of the local Barnes and Nobles in my area here, cold called them. I mean, I basically picked up the phone and cold called them. That's, I think, one of the easiest ways to get in front of people these days because a lot of us don't use telephones anymore. But I called all of them and asked about setting up book events. And as soon as they realized that they were actually already stocking my book in online at least, and in their warehouses, which that's also something that comes with a traditional publisher is that distribution channel, and that's something that totally different from this as well. But when you get that distribution channel working for you, I think it is probably easier to get into a Barnes and Noble or to get into your local bookstores because they can easily get the book and it's also a level of credibility. But again, if you don't want to go that route, and I'm this is not for the faint of heart. Like this is when you write a book, you start a business. You start your own business and it's a lot of work. Like it's been a lot of work. It's probably been the most favorite work I've done in my career. But working with a traditional publisher does not eliminate the work that you have to do. So either whether you no matter how you publish, you're going to do work trying to sell your book. Like I think that's the gist of the story. But yeah, I mean, that was when I finally asked my publisher. He said that he knew I was going to work hard and that I wouldn't give up. I mean, that was really a deciding factor for him. So, and that means to them, that means, you don't give up after a couple of months. To me, I'm like, my marketing plan runs all the way into 2025 to the end of 2025 for this book for phase one. So I don't know what phase two and phase three will look like yet, but that's the kind of person that I think traditional publishers are looking for. And listen, I'm not an expert in that. I'm not, I'm just an author who got published at a traditional publisher. But I do know how unique of a story that is. And if it's something that you're considering, happy to, discuss and give you some strategic advice on that specifically. But I think that if you want to be a traditionally published author, there are some things that I didn't know going into it. Like it takes 2 years. So if you need your book 6 months from now, traditional publishing is not going to work for you. Just things like that. Now, I can't even begin to talk about the positives that I've experienced thus far. I mean, literally, like picking up the phone and being able to schedule book events at Barnes and Nobles and my local bookstore. I don't think that happens when you self-publish. And I think I think it can happen if you really, really, really pursue it. But it's from my experience, because I've worked with self-published authors, I've tried to help self-published authors get in the door with these bookstores, and I wasn't successful at it, helping them. And I think if you are traditionally published, that just brings down some of the walls that I think self-published authors sometimes face. So it's just a crazy ride. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it, but I think at the end of the day, no matter how you decide to publish your book, if you're going to write one, you got to have a make it happen attitude. You just got to roll up your sleeves and do it. It's very hard to promote a book and also run a business where you are a coach or guide or strategist, because you have to balance that line between promoting your book and promoting your services. That's a hard line. I mean, I've really struggled with that, and I have some ways that we've eased that struggle some behind the scenes here. But there's just, it's not for everybody. I will just say, like, writing a book isn't for everybody. It was definitely for me, though. Like, I was born to do this work. This work is burnout, and really it's just making workplaces better. I started with business owners because that's what I know, that's who I know, that's my heart is in entrepreneurship. But my whole career has been getting me ready for this, because I've burned out everywhere I've ever worked, and we didn't talk about burnout. Like, you didn't talk about it, and I was one of the more efficient workers, so I would get a lot more pat on my plate, but I would still get it done. I mean, I remember times sitting in an office where I had done like 4 hours worth of work in 2 hours because I figured out ways to be more efficient, and I was expected to, do somebody else's work because I was efficient, or I wasn't allowed to like leave, 2 hours early. I still had to sit there for 5 hours or 5 more or 6 more hours or 7 more hours, whatever it was. So that type of stuff burned me out when I back in my corporate career days. So anyways, long story short, buy the book if you want to be traditionally published. It's a hard road, but it is I've experienced things on this road that I've never experienced, and I feel like I have a team of supporters behind me that are doing things I don't even know they're doing within my publisher and my publicist, but they show up in ways that you don't expect, like seeing your book in America's local bookstore out in Portland, Oregon. So that's the kind of stuff I think that having a traditional publisher helps you with. So anyways, but yeah, I mean, my publisher told me that I got the deal because he knew I'd work really hard and I'd be relentless about it, which is exactly my plan. So thank you for watching. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about my next book. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow on a live, and hopefully I won't have any internet problems, and hopefully things will just go. And I hope nobody heard me swear in between, because there's a chance that you did. Hopefully you didn't. But anyways, I'll be back tomorrow. I think at 11 a.m. is tomorrow's time to talk a little bit more about this live and to share, what my thoughts are on my next book. So have a great day. Get your copy of Burned. If you haven't done so already, please. This week's sales are really, really important. And I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for watching, guys.